Hi friends, now in this session we will discuss the preparation strategy for FRM Part 1 Book 2 Quantitative Analysis. Now you will get approximately 20 questions on this subject, and specifically for 2023 we have 2 new topics in this subject, so topics relating to machine learning. We don't have to bother about it much because these topics are very interesting first, and second, easy to understand and learn based on the learning objective. So if you consider the learning objective, you will get theory questions on these topics because most of the learning objectives are kind of explain, understand, interpret like this, and not calculate and solve or estimate like this. Okay, so with these 2 new topics we have additional burden now because we have to study 2 new topics, and that's not the big problem as we discussed because it is easy to understand. Now here in this session I will assume you are using Faculties Essential Package. Now Essential Package, you get full study notes, fast track notes, 100+ mock tests specifically designed for theory examination, 3 full round of mock tests, multiple section tests based on each section. I will explain what are these section tests, what is the concept of section test, and with this you will also get topic wise quizzes. Okay, so a lot of content you are getting in this Essentials package, and my assumption is you are using Essentials package while discussing this particular section or in this video. Now here, first understand one particular thing. Make sure you start your preparation as soon as possible because of new addition, as well as you will need to prepare a lot of students generally procrastinate and delay their preparation, and it will waste your time. Okay, so make sure you start your preparation as soon as possible, and in case you want to enroll or purchase this particular package, I will drop links in the description, links relating to this Essentials package. Okay, so you can buy that. Now one more thing, if you are buying from online library, which is again Falcon Edufins portal, then you will get immediate access. If you are buying from Falcon Edufins website, then you will get access in 24 hours. Just remember this. And one more thing, this is all digital access, so you will get complete content in digital format. So all mock tests, section test, quizzes are in CBD format, computer based testing format, same like GARP, and notes, the full study notes as well as the fast track notes for the revision, these notes are in the PDF format, so you can take printouts, but not recommended if you can't take the color prints because we have a lot of color indications here. Okay, so make sure you take the color printouts. Second, if you are from India, then you have this option to buy physical copies, the print copies of these books. So, and we will deliver these books only in India and not outside India. Okay, so first you have to buy the Essentials package, and then only you can buy this like the print copies. Print copies will cost you approximately 1,000 or 1,200. Now next, the subject introduction. In subject introduction, this is our book 2 quants, and you will get approximately 20 questions. My estimate is you will get approximately 7 numerical type questions and 13 theory questions. Now here, if you have watched my previous video, there my assumption was 10 numerical questions and 10 theory questions, but here I'm changing my assumption. Why? Because we have 2 new topics, and GARP will test at least 1 or 2 questions on those topics, and because those topics are designed in a way that you will get only theory questions from this, or mostly theory questions from these 2 topics. Now we will have 2 additional theory questions, so automatically you will get less number of numerical questions. So 7 numerical questions, 13 theory questions. Again, topics are easy to understand, so not a big problem for us. Okay, now this is basic. Second, generally students feel problem in this particular area, and specifically those who are coming from non-quants or maths background. Okay, so non-quants and maths background. So for those students, my recommendation would be, so try to understand the concepts which are given here, but don't pressurize yourself if you are unable to get the complete conceptual clarity by self. And again, when I'm telling you or discussing this preparation strategy, my assumption is you are going with self-study, okay, and not the Falcon's classes. So if you're taking classes, then explanation, understanding is our responsibility. If you are doing self-study, then understanding is your responsibility. So from that perspective I'm talking. Now see here, if you are unable to understand everything clearly with proper details, then my recommendation would be don't pressurize yourself in the first reading. Finish your first reading, then move on to next topic, and then come back to this topic or this subject, and then again try to understand it. With repetition, you will get more clarity in this section. Okay, and also you should focus on the GARP's testing approach with the preparation as well. Now second category in this particular discussion is like the CFA students, CFAs who are coming from the same background, because all the topics which are given in FRM part 1 are covered in CFA level 1 plus CFA level 2. So CFA level 1 quants plus CFA level 2 quants combined is FRM part 1 quants. Now here, the level of testing in CFA level 1 is way easier compared to FRM part 1's quants testing. So make sure you prepare according to FRM and don't be in that assumption that you already know the concepts, so you don't need to prepare anything. Okay, you should prepare FRM part 1's quants according to FRM. Fine. Next, if you are coming from quants background. Now, if you are coming from quants background, then understanding concept is not a big problem for you, because most of the concepts are known to you. But understand, FRM exam is author specific exam. So whatever GARP says is the ultimate truth and not whatever you learn in your previous curriculum. So you have to again read complete content, make sure you understand things according to GARP's curriculum and don't get confused with your own knowledge versus GARP's assumptions relating to these concepts. In statistics, there are variations, or there are different assumptions given by different statisticians. In a lot of areas there is no common consensus. Okay, so you have to make sure you understand things according to GARP and remember things or the concepts according to GARP's curriculum. These books are designed according to GARP's curriculum, so we are not deviating much. I'm just writing things in my explanation or my language and simplifying the discussion. Okay, so but we are covering everything which is given in the GARP's learning objective, so we are going according to the learning objective. Now, first topic is the fundamentals of probability. Pretty easy to understand in the first, but very difficult from exam perspective. In exam, GARP twists this concept like anything. So you will always feel problem in understanding the question first, but once you decode the question or the question's language, then this particular question on this topic becomes very easy to solve. Okay, so there are no difficult concepts here. Mainly you will get tested on these topics. So first, the conditional and unconditional probability, independent and mutually exclusive event, probability of getting tested on this particular area is slightly less. Mostly in previous examination, if you consider previous exams, then mostly GARP likes to test Bayes theorem or Bayes rule. Okay, so make sure you understand Bayes rule properly. Most of the probability questions are based on Bayes rule, and this particular conditional independent event is not that important area. Okay, so approximately the very easy topic. Now I told you, like, we have section wise test. In section wise test, we divide curriculum in sections. So first we will see section 1. So what are the topics covered in section 1? So first of all, this is part of section 1 and next 6 readings are part of section 1. What should be your approach in preparation? So approach is very simple and straightforward. First, read from notes, then solve topic wise quiz. So this topic wise quiz is concept level quiz and not the exam level quiz. Now when you solve topic wise quiz, if you perform really good in that quiz, means you are good with basic concepts, okay, which is very important to solve exam level questions. Once you are good with basic concept, once we know you are good with basic concepts, you can proceed further, move to next reading. Now if you are not scoring properly in topic wise quizzes, then I would recommend you to go for preparations, okay, the classes or like that, because if you are unable to get the understanding, conceptual understanding by self, then things will be very difficult for you. So now you have very clear understanding. Okay, so if you perform well in quizzes, you are good, you can move with self-study. Very clear. Now if you are not performing well in quizzes, then you should consider the preparation providers. Now here, once you are done with this, you have to follow these steps: read from notes, solve quizzes for 6 topics till hypothesis testing. And once you are done with that, we have section test, which is exam level test. So all the questions are exam level, or I will say, like, you can say slightly difficult compared to actual exam. Okay, so appear for section test, and now you have to interpret. If you perform really good in quizzes and you fail to perform properly in section test, ideal score of section test is 60%. If you score below this 60%, then you are facing difficulty in handling exam level questions. Then you have to deal with or practice a lot, or like and learn how to deal with exam level questions. If you are doing good in section test as well, say you are scoring 80%, no one scored 80% till now in my section test. So if you score like this, then you are doing amazing. Move on, move to next section. Now this is the approach, general approach. Read from notes, solve quizzes, repeat these steps for first 6 topics, appear for section test, finish your section, move on to next section, and you have to repeat this for every section. Now fundamentals of probability is in the section 1. Next topic is basic statistics. Sorry, this is in section 1 itself. Now this basic statistics is the combination. This is available in only Falcon Defense notes. So this is the combination of random variable, multivariate and sample moments, 3 topics. Now in these 3 topics there were concepts relating to the basic statistics, and because these topics or concepts got distributed in multiple topics, it was difficult for students to understand things properly. So what I did, I pulled all the concepts related to basic statistics in one single topic and called it as level 0 topic. Now when you prepare this, you are preparing 3 topics simultaneously in a proper order. Okay, and then we also have random variable discussion. In that random variable, the topic which are not directly related, or the discussions which are not directly related to this particular topic, the basic statistics, those topics are covered in that particular section, the sample random variable or multivariate or sample moments, like this. Now here you will get approximately 2 to 3 questions. This is again assumption based on my expectation, right? And here we have the discussions like what are the location measures, spread measures, a mean, mode, median, standard deviation, variance, range, quartiles, interquartile range, expected value, properties of expectation, covariance, correlation, which relates to multivariate analysis, and then 4 common population movements, skewness, kurtosis, and 2 population movement mean and variance or standard deviation is covered here. Okay, so this is the level 0 topic. Obviously it covers the random variable, common univariate and multivariate random variable. Again, this is section 1, random variable, and here the distribution functions are covered mainly. Then next is the common univariate random variables. This is a distribution topic. So uniform distribution, normal distribution, binomial, Poisson, and so on. Very important from exam perspective. Again, this is the part of your section 1, and here you can expect around 3 questions, and mostly you get tested on binomial, Poisson distribution, and so on. And then we also have the continuous distributions, so normal distribution, student street distribution, not highly testable distributions. Okay, so chi-square distribution and their distributions are not generally tested in examination. Even if you get any question, you will get theory question mostly and not the calculation based question, again based on my assumption. Then you have remaining 3 distributions. Understand the meaning of these distributions. So I will also show you the complete topics. Okay, so I will just mark you all the important points. Now here multivariate random variables, very easy topic. Okay, so most of the students feel this topic difficult. My video is already available on multivariate random variables. So if you want to prepare multivariate random variable, if you feel multivariate random variable difficult, then you can directly watch that video. So very good for understanding. Okay, again, I'm expecting hardly 1 question on this topic, or 1 or 2 question maximum. Then we have the sample moments. Sample moments mostly covered in basic statistics area, and expect around 1 question. Again, this is part of section 1. And the last topic of section 1 is this hypothesis testing, reading number 6. Slightly difficult, difficult to understand, difficult to remember, and so on. So make sure you read it first, solve some basic questions, solve quizzes, and with this, once you're done with this particular section, obviously you have to appear for section test. So your first section test will be here. Okay, so section test. Now if you feel this particular topic very difficult, then there is one particular unique thing about this topic. Generally, hypothesis testing takes time to absorb. So don't expect that you will understand each and everything in the first reading itself. Finish your first reading, whatever you understand, close the discussion and revisit this topic after 10-15 days. Why? Because first you need to forget this topic slightly, and then when you visit it after 15 days, again you will be able to recall it properly. Okay, and then you will get the better understanding. So this is general approach for this topic. Now next section is on regression section. On regression, so S2, expect around 2 questions, expect around 1 question, and expect around 1 question. Okay, now regression is again it requires all the concepts of previous section. Okay, and that's why we divided curriculum in sections. Once you are comfortable in section 1, then things will be easier for you in section 2. If you are facing problem in section 1, things will be very difficult for you in section 2. So make sure you close your section 1 properly, and then only you should move to next section. Now here, see, in linear regression, first you need to understand what is linear regression, what is the meaning of linear regression, how to understand or interpret the linear regression, what is R square, measure of fit, coefficient of determination, and so on. So all these concepts are covered here. So you have to understand everything. What is dummy variable, properties of OLS estimator, GARP's favorite area, then hypothesis testing. And all 3 methods are given here. Generally, you don't get directly tested on the hypothesis testing of regression, but you should understand this. Okay, so again, very important. Now here, if you face difficulty in this particular topic, then next 2 topics are nearly impossible to understand. Okay, so I would recommend you to spend slightly more time if you are unable to understand things properly. So this would be the recommendation before moving to next topic. Next topic is on the multiple explanatory variables. So previous topic was linear regression, but with only one variable. So y is equal to a plus b x. So is the equation. And for this, the 8th reading, we have multiple variables. So here, again, the similar discussion, but how things differ when we have multiple variables. And then the reading number 9 is the regression diagnostics. Regression diagnostics is slightly complicated topic, difficult to understand, but will be very easy to understand if you are using these notes, because what I did, I separated all the discussion. Okay, important discussion is separated from the full text. I will show you what is the meaning of this. Now here, next is the section 3, and then, sorry, just a second. This is now section 2, and again section 2. So we are combining time series topics with regression topics. So 3 regression topics, 2 time series topics. So finish these topics at once. Okay. And now again, time series topics are very difficult for a lot of students. And if it is difficult for you, so you're not unique. So it is happening with everything or everyone. So don't bother about it. Just try to understand all the key components or key points. Now, why this time series is difficult? Very simple explanation, because time series is very vast area and GARP somehow tried to squeeze it into 2 topics. So problem is not with your understanding, problem is with the approach GARP used for time series section. It is very difficult to summarize full time series or understand full time series in just 2 topics. Okay, so that's the problem. So don't bother about GARP's approach, because GARP is going to test on basic concepts. So you will get very straight questions on time series. Okay, again, expect one question, one question on this. Now again, the same thing, finish this, like you have to finish your time series section till time series. Once you are done with this, simply solve your section test. Okay, and check your performance. Ideal score for this is 50% for this section test. Then measuring returns, volatility, and correlation. Now here, this is section 3. Okay, section 3, machine learning section 3 and section 3. Okay, now here, let's see. Measuring returns, volatility, and correlation. So here we have a lot of repeated discussion. Okay, so we'll see like what is implied volatility, which is already covered in the previous sections. Now here we have to understand first very important area, time scaling of volatility. This topic relates to the value at risk section. Then implied volatility relates to the book 4. Okay, then we have JB test and power laws, not highly testable, but on JB test you can expect 1 question, but not highly testable. Okay, the frequency is low. This is highly testable area, Spearman's correlation coefficient and Kendall's tau correlation. Now make sure you understand each and every aspect of it, because GARP likes to twist question on this area. Then we have simulation and bootstrapping, again very theoretical discussion. understand what is control variate and antithetic variate, what is pseudo random number generator and all, and you are good to go. Okay, so understand advantages, disadvantages. So discussion will be very basic, questions will be very basic on this area, simulation and bootstrapping. And on machine learning, because this is a new addition in this subject itself, so I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but based on the learning objective, I can tell you the discussion or the questions will be very basic. Just simply what is k-means clustering algorithm, or what is principal component analysis, what are the uses of principal component analysis, when to use it, and so on. So these type of questions I'm expecting. The types of machine learning, I don't think like the Garfield test on types of machine learning, but again, very basic questions you can expect. I'm expecting at least one question on this and at least one question on this. Okay, so now this is overview. Now we will quickly see the important discussions here. So first of all, this is our reading number 1. So in reading number 1, first it starts with the key properties, then conditional and conditional, important area. Make sure you know, learn, remember this particular part. This is the illustration, and to explain the complete illustration, this is the chart. You must understand, remember, you should be able to walk from left to right and right to left like this. Okay, so this is very important. Same thing in table format, because GARP sometimes asks questions in table format, okay, which we call it as a probability matrix. Then marginal probability distribution, conditional probability distribution. This is explained horribly in GARP's curriculum, so I simplified it like anything. Okay, so this is a very simplest thing in discussion. Excuse me. So understand what is marginal probability distribution, understand what is conditional distribution. You should be able to calculate the conditional and marginal probability distribution. Marginal probability distribution looks mathematical, but it is very conceptual thing. Okay. Excuse me. Then we have independent and mutually exclusive events. Understand what is independent and mutually exclusive event. I don't remember, like GARP stopped testing this particular area way back, but very important to understand rest of the curriculum. So you should not skip this. Okay, so whenever I'm saying something is not very important, you should not skip it. You should always prepare it, but just for your understanding, like whenever I'm saying this is very important, you should focus extra on that area. Then we have the addition and multiplication rule. Now in addition and multiplication rule, this is again testable area. Sometimes GARP tests this. Then Bayes rule or Bayes theorem. Make sure you read this illustration, solve some questions. So all the concepts are given here. Bayes explained in tree format, so you have to understand this. Okay, then we have the conditionally independent event, theoretical discussion, not very testable. Now next is the basic statistics chapter. Here we have the first section. This is my write-up just to give you the overview of how things work in statistics world, because now we have the machine learning section. So you should understand all these things. Now the key terms, again, understand it, read it. But again, not testable area from exam perspective. So now here we have the population sample data. Understand what is the difference between population and sample data. Then the mean. Okay, so first important area, we should be able to, like, you should know how to calculate the mean, but again, not very important, not testable in exam, but important to become a risk manager. Okay, so then we have the standard deviation, variance, and range. Understand these concepts. Don't need to remember all these formulas, the standard deviation formulas and the variance formulas, because we can use calculator for these. Then we have next, again, standard deviation explained with the help of table. Then the meaning of median, quartiles, and everything. So learn and remember how the quartile is defined. Very important. I have already added table for you so that you don't miss the important point. And again, very important discussion. GARP likes to test this, the IQR and standard deviation. IQR versus standard deviation, when you should use which one. Then we have the expected value and the properties of expectation. So again, important area. Here you can use calculator, so you don't have to bother about the formulas again, but understand how things work in the expectation theory. Now the expected value versus mean. So see this expected value, Cx is equal to C multiplied by expected value of X. Now this is the theorem or rule or property of expected value, also explained here with the help of table, like how exactly or what is the meaning of that property. Same is applicable here. So all these things are my addition, not given in GARP's book, so I provided it by myself so that you understand exactly the meaning of property, so that you will be able to retain the property in proper manner. Now the covariance and correlation discussion, very important to become a risk manager. Okay, so and GARP also likes to test this. So again, you can calculate covariance correlation using TIB2 plus calculator, but here I showed like how things work if you are provided with data. But again, you don't need to calculate this, okay, because we can use TI-BW calculator. Again, if you need to, if you want to know like how to use the calculator, then TI-BW calculator course is available. It is for free, so you have to pay for it. So simply use that course available on our portal. Now, note, this is directly testable in exam, but we can use the calculator, so very easy to understand. Now there are 4 movements, so mean and variance covered in the previous section. Now here we have the skewness and kurtosis discussion. Mainly you have to focus on this table, key points relating to skewness, and same is applicable for kurtosis. Tables, okay, so tables, whenever you see table in my book or our Falcon book, that table is most important. You should not skip that table. Then we have the random variables discussion. In random variables, you will see this topic very short because most of the topics or most of the discussions are covered in the previous section, the basic statistics. Now discrete random variable, understand what is the meaning of discrete random variable. Then we have the continuous random variable, again understand what is continuous random variable and so on. You need to understand what is PDF and CDF, but not very testable because the possibility of drafting question on this area is slightly less. Okay, but you should understand because at the end we will be using PDF and CDF. Very important, linear transformation of random variables, and you should understand this because now the exam is theory and good theory question can be drafted on this area. Next, common univariate random variables. First section is the introduction. You can move on. You don't need to worry about it. Discrete distribution. So Poisson and binomial distributions are very important. Also, sometimes GARP tests this uniform distribution. Okay, so make sure you understand uniform distribution, specifically these properties. These. Okay, so if you get question on uniform distribution, the question will be more or less same like this. Then we have the Bernoulli trials. Understand what is Bernoulli trial. We use it in the binomial distribution. In binomial distribution, we have question and all the questions are given here, expected values, standard deviation, and so on. Also understand this particular graph, okay, not given in GARP's book, I guess, but I think like if GARP decides to create a theory question on this, it is testable. Okay, so you'll not get any question directly on graph, but for understanding it is important. Then similarly is applicable for Poisson distribution. Again, you have to understand what is Poisson distribution, know how to solve the question on Poisson distribution, and also solve questions on in quizzes, given in the quizzes, and again the same graph. Then we have continuous distribution. In continuous distribution, we have multiple distributions. So first is symmetrical distribution, the normal distribution, standard normal distribution, student street distribution. Then we have the non-symmetrical distributions, log normal, chi-square wave distribution, exponential distribution, and beta distribution. Oh my god. Okay, in normal distribution, this is the most testable distribution. So you have to understand what is normal distribution. This formula is not at all important. You need to remember this particular formula already mentioned in the book. So how to use the normal distribution, very important. Properties of normal distribution. Table. Whenever I say see, whenever you see table, must remember. Okay, then table, must remember. Then diagram, must remember. Okay, so with the help of this diagram, you will be able to solve confidence interval question. GARP likes to test the confidence interval question. Okay, now here there is like number of illustrations on confidence interval. So once you solve these illustrations, like once you see or understand these illustrations, there is no possibility that you will miss any question in examination, which is based on the confidence interval. Approximately 5 illustrations are there, and you will be able to understand how things work differently when we have different assumptions in illustration. Now, properties of normal distribution. Again, must remember, whenever you see properties, whenever you see key points in the book, must remember. Okay, then standard normal distribution, how the standard normal, any normal distribution is mapped onto standard normal distribution. So this is a discussion. Moving on, Z value calculation, the Z table, how to find these Z values, and again illustrations on this. Okay, so these are illustrations, and this will show you like exactly which area we are covering. I don't know, like, is it possible to zoom or like that? So see this. Okay, so what is mean by minus Z less than -2? So this is the cutoff point, like this. Okay, so like this. Okay, now then we have the log normal distribution. In log normal distribution, you need to know all the basic properties of log normal distribution and so on. Understand what is the meaning of log normal distribution and just the properties. Student street distribution, again, when to use student street distribution compared to normal distribution and the basic properties, and how to find the student's t-value. Okay, observations in the above diagram and like that. And then we have the standard error. Okay, remember this because we will use standard error in hypothesis testing. Chi-square distribution, don't bother about formulas and all, just understand all the basic properties. Then we have the F distribution, don't bother about formulas and all, just remember the basic properties. Then the exponential distribution, same principle is applicable, but this particular illustration is important. Solve this illustration. GARP might ask you a question on this illustration. Then the beta distribution, again, understand the basic properties, not numerically testable. Mixture distribution. Properties, remember, understand and remember. Okay, then we have the multivariate random variable discussion, reading number 4. In this reading number 4, most important area of this reading, you should understand and know and remember all these things. Variance and sum of random variables, again, understand this because we have, like, this is testable in book 1 CAPM, capital asset pricing model. This is foundation for book 1's capital asset pricing model, and FRM part 2's value at risk or the value at risk related topics. Okay, so see this, yeah. Then we have independent and identically distributed random variables, and again you have to understand it. Okay, so how things work, remember it. Sample moments. In sample moments, we have point estimate and estimator. Understand the difference between point estimate and estimator. Students make mistake in this area. Then what is sampling distribution? Understand the sampling distribution. Not part of your curriculum, but as a FRM student, you should understand this, or you should know what is sampling distribution, because we use sampling distribution in hypothesis testing indirectly, not directly. Okay, now here, bias estimate. Again, GARP's new favorite area. This was a recent addition after 2020 curriculum update. So understand and remember, as we discussed, remember all the tables, and here the important note is given. So remember that note. Again, formula is same as standard deviation, nothing different. Best linear unbiased estimator. Understand what is blue, highly testable and theoretically testable. Law of large numbers. Understand, remember everything. Okay, CLT, remember assumptions, most important. Okay, so these assumptions, what are the assumptions here, and then summary of CLT properties. You have to remember this summary. Okay, now then mean of two random variables. Again, the basic information, not very testable. Then we have the skewness, variance, kurtosis. You don't need to remember all these formulas. You don't need to remember skewness, kurtosis formulas anyway, but here just remember or understand the key points and points to remember. You will get tested on points to remember only. Okay, then we have the hypothesis testing. Very interesting topic. It starts with the introduction, and again, not the part of your FRM curriculum. I added introduction for myself because you should understand what's going inside the hypothesis testing. Then we have the outline of hypothesis testing. So how we set up the hypothesis test. Again, tables, remember. Okay, understand all the steps. Just understand, not part of your curriculum. This is my discussion. Okay, I added myself. Now here, null and the alternate hypothesis. So H0 and HA. So null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Understand what is this, and then this is the table. So what happens in left table, what happens in right left tail test, what happens in right tail test, what happens in two tail test, and everything is given here. So here we have complete discussion, and then do it yourself. So the illustrations are given here. One simple note, there are no do it yourself questions in our books, because those questions are given in your quizzes. Now decision making process, simple, table, remember. The anti-critical approach, understand anti-critical approach. You should be able to solve complete hypothesis question. Generally, like now GARP stopped asking questions on full hypothesis testing question, but GARP asks partial questions. So half question from beginning or half question to end. So like that. So you should understand how to solve it completely in totality. Now then we have this discussion, very important discussion. Then confidence interval method, very important. Understand this, remember this. Also see this particular table, very important. That this is the illustration. If you get tested, question will be like this. Okay, so even if you remember the rules, you are good to go. And the p-value method is the easiest, and simply like understand what is p-value method and how to do it. One illustration is given here. Then errors in hypothesis testing, type 1 error, type 2 error, very important discussion. GARP likes to test theory questions on this area. Understand what is type 1 error, what is power of test, very important. Testing differences of two population, not very important discussion. Then multiple hypothesis testing, very theoretical discussion, just to understand what is a multiple hypothesis testing. Then this is the end of our section 1. Now we are moving into section number 2, linear regression. Now in linear regression, we will start with the basics. So what is the meaning of linear regression? What is the linear regression equation? equation. We have parameters y is equal to a plus b x. So a and b are one is the intercept, one is the correlation coefficient, and you need to understand how to calculate these coefficients using the OLS method. Now, steps in linear regression, again not the part of FRM curriculum, but important for your understanding. Linear versus non-linear, very important area. Next, ordinary least square method. Using these methods, we estimate our parameters, so alpha and beta, or a and b. Okay, so this is the complete discussion. Again, very extended discussion so that you don't miss anything in theory. Okay, so here the beta calculation is given, and then we have the intercept, and then we have the error term, very important again. Then we have explained versus unexplained variance, again understand it. Then we have a measure of fit R square, very important. Dummy variable, very important. Properties of OLS estimator, very important. Okay, so again this particular topic is like mostly testable in most of the areas. Okay, then hypothesis testing, not that much testable. Okay, so even if you remember the final rules of hypothesis testing, so this is the table so that you understand all the rules. So that's it, this much is enough. And this is ANOVA. Okay, so ANOVA table, so understand how to use the ANOVA table, and that's it. Okay, now next, regression with multiple explanatory variables. We're starting with the introduction, then assumptions of linear regression with multiple explanatory variable. Then we have interpretation of regression coefficient, understand it, why it is called as partial coefficient, then partial regression coefficient, and so on. Steps are given here. Then illustration, understand illustration. Generally GARP will provide you the ready-made data and you have to calculate y, very simple. Goodness of fit. Okay, so adjusted R square, very important discussion, and you might get numerical question on this. And this is adjusted R square's explanation. See how adjusted R square changes. Okay, so again this is like we are providing this discussion, not part of GARP's curriculum. Okay, now here joint hypothesis testing, not very important, but at least read once and try to understand it. And then we have this, like the F distribution and chi-square distribution and how to use it. Again, not that much testable. Regression diagnostics, very interesting topic. Now understand this particular table. Most of the students don't even know what is this table. Like if you are using some other book, then these things are not mentioned in any book. Okay, now omitted variable bias. So see here, as I said, everything is mentioned in bullet points. So bullet points are very, very important. So just focus on bullet points for remembering, and you need to understand the rest of the content. So understand the plain text, remember the bullet points. Obviously you will first understand the bullet points, but you must remember all those bullet points. Okay, so even like this, so small models, higher bias, lower variance, remember this. And then we have the general to specific model and fold cross validation. Then we have the heteroscedasticity. See, these discussions are covered like this. So effect, detection method, problem with this method, solution, and approaches to model. Okay, so everything is separated, so it will be very easy for you to understand. Okay, then we have the multicollinearity discussion. So again, the same methodology we opted. So how to identify multicollinearity and what is the solution for multicollinearity. Then residual plot visualization, then outliers, and then which OLS method is best, and you have to understand it. Then we have the time series. Time series, I slightly extended this topic compared to given in GARP. So understand this topic, read this topic. Okay, so obviously you will get a better understanding compared to actual curriculum or any other book. Okay, so this topic starts with the introduction. What is this? What is the meaning of time series and all? So component of time series, what happens in time series, how we separate the trend, separate the seasonality, and then separate the like rest of the content, detrended time series, and so on. And then what is a seasonal time series, only seasons of time series, and white noise of the time series. So this level of discussion is given in this, which is not given in any other area or any other book. Now here, what is covariance stationary? Now 3 points, very important points. Then we have the stochastic process. So stochastic process, understand it. Okay, so we have some discussions which are like difficult to understand. What I did, I separated the discussion, like white noise properties. Now you have to remember these properties. Chances are you will get tested on the white noise properties, like that. Okay, so if you see bullets, Bullets are very important. Then Walt's theorem is here. Then the lag operator, autocovariance and autocorrelation. Again, the formula is given here, not important. You don't need to bother about this particular formula. Then we have the ACF and PACF. So ACF, PACF diagram. So how ACF and PACF works, ACF plot, and then similarity time series. So this ACF and PACF plot is based on this particular time series. This is similarity time series using programming. Now, what are AR models? And then ARP process, Buell-Walker equation, then moving average models, and you have to understand these models, and again, tables, important. Then autoregressive, then sample autocorrelation, joint autocorrelation testing, and then we have the model building and selection. Okay, so this is the discussion. Then we have the Box-Jenkins seasonality discussion, and then we have the non-stationary time series, again the part of section 2, and trends in the time series. Again, this is a discussion, seasonality in time series, understand this. And then we have the forecasting with seasonality and trend, H step ahead forecast, so understand this. And then we have the random unit root, very complicated to understand, so just read it and try to understand it. Okay, and then we have again challenges modeling time series with unit root. All the bullet points are very important. And then we have the Dickey-Fuller test, DF test. Like too much theory is written here, my bad. Okay, so because I wrote it here, we have end of section 2, and again you have to appear for section test 2 here. Now measuring returns, volatility and correlation. So here, let's see. So discussion starts with the basic, how to calculate the returns, how to calculate the log normal, the continuously compounded returns. Then we have the volatility and risk, again the basic discussion. Then time scaling of volatility, which is useful for value at risk discussion. Then we have the implied volatility. So you have to read this particular section with Black-Scholes and Merton model, last topic of your curriculum, second last topic of your curriculum. So you can skip it for now. Then JB test, very simple test, very simple to understand. Then we have power laws, or this is the power law, very simple to understand. Then Spearman's correlation coefficient, you should be able to calculate Spearman's correlation coefficient or rank correlation coefficient and Kendall-Stowe correlation coefficient. So we are using the exactly same table. These pairs are very, very important. You should know how to find pairs. Very important. Okay, next, simulation and bootstrapping. In simulation bootstrapping, this is a very theoretical discussion, so you have to understand each and everything, and whatever, like I will show you like what are the points to remember. So remember, improving accuracy, very important, this discussion. Then antithetic variables, understand what is antithetic variable, what is control variates, understand and remember these bullet points. Limitations of simulation. Okay, then we have bootstrapping and so understand it. Okay, and then bullet points, remember. Disadvantages of simulation, remember. Okay, like this. Now we have the machine learning new introduction. So in machine learning, this is kind of like full write-up of machine learning, so you will be able to understand each and everything properly. So mainly you have to understand things here. Okay, so what is supervised machine learning, what is unsupervised machine learning, when to use supervised, when to use unsupervised, when to use reinforcement learning, and so on. Now key points to remember, I did the same thing. Whatever the key points which I think you should remember are separated here as well. Okay, so I made discussion interesting instead of making it very boring, so you will really enjoy reading this, even if you compare this with GARP's curriculum. Okay, now data preparation, how data is prepared and so on. Then we have the data cleaning process, and then we have next. Okay, here some discussions are not covered in GARP's curriculum. I simply added those discussions by myself just to improve your understanding. My gut feeling is you will get question on, or you should get question on this. Okay, standardization, normalization. You have to understand what is standardization, normalization, and then principal component analysis, what is PCA and so on. Understand this PCA applications from, this is from the GARP's book as it is. Okay, because this is very like rigidly written by GARP. Now K-means clustering algorithm is given here, so understand it. What is Euclidean distance and Manhattan distance, understand it. You need to know exactly what are these distances. Then performance measurement of k-means, selection of k, how to select k in k-means clustering, and then we have next discussion where overfitting and underfitting. Again, key points to remember in overfitting already given, separated. Key points of underfitting already given, separated. And again, this graph is from GARP's book. Sampling and splitting and preparation, training, validation, and testing of the data. So all these points are important. Wherever you see bullet points, remember. Okay, then natural processing, uses of NLP. I sometimes think like GARP might also ask you the basic questions like when you can use the NLP and so on. So understand it. Then we have the machine learning predictions, so identifying with the category, dealing with category variables, identifying and dealing with categorical variables. Then you have the regularization process, the requirement of regularization, scaling. Then we have the regression, lasso. So what is lasso? Just understand all the basics of it. You don't have to perform machine learning in your examination. You will get 2 theory questions. Then we have the logistics regression. Then we have the model evaluation, and all the points are given here. Okay, so just see this. Okay, then we have the decision tree, and this is a decision tree, same from GARP's book. Okay, and then we have ensemble technique, bootstrapping, aggregation, random forest. When you are studying machine learning, your goal should be to you should make sure you remember all the key points. Okay, so key points are very important here, and that's what GARP will test. Then we have the k nearest neighbors. Again, steps are given here. Steps are important. Support vector machines. I personally think like support vector is SVM is important. Then neural networks, key points are given here. Gradient descent algorithm, again given. Okay, now this is all about your book 2's preparation. I think like this video has gone very long, so that's all about the preparation related like how to prepare this particular subject. So make sure you remember all the important points and so on, and that's it. That's all the discussion we have here. Now see you in the next video. Next video will be on book number 3. Okay, bye bye, take care.